Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. So glad you're with us to stay curious, and stay curious you will, as we're going to figure out what determines Easter. All right. Why does Easter fluctuate? In December 25th, Christmas stays one date. Of course, both honor Jesus, the Savior for the Christian religion, and we not religious here. We don't talk about sex, politics, or religion on Stay Curious or in our museum, but we're going to talk about how the date of Easter is established as an astronomical phenomenon involved. And we're also going to honor our dear friend Ozzie Osband, who passed away over a year ago, and we honored him on today, a year ago, 321 Day. After all, it's March 21st. 2025, 321. And the museum, with the help of the National Space Society, is creating an annual event where we can celebrate Ozzie, who brought the 321 area code to our area, and also celebrate the birth of spring and so forth in there. Dean Schaaf's come in here. Hey, Dean, how are you? Yeah, get Dean a chair there. In fact, sit down here, Dean.
Who's your guest?
You're my guest. Another surprise guest today. A good buddy of mine, Dean Schaaf. All right, Dean, scoot over in here a little bit, Marty. I don't know if you can get his name up there quickly, but Dean, your part, appropriately, we were just talking about Ozzie, and I've got my backdrop here is a moonrise over Cape Canaveral. Took several years ago. But we're going to talk a little bit about stargazing at the end here. After all, we want you to talk like an astronomer. How many days old is the moon? Dean, the moon is 21 days old. So what does that mean? When an amateur astronomer immediately knows, wow, the moon's not in the evening sky. I can go out tonight and stargaze till 10 o'clock or 11, as late as my wife will let me. And GoHistoryTravel.org are big supporters of the museum, and they're supporting our astronauts at Shuttle Fest, Dean. And I didn't put a thing up here about Shuttle Fest, but there's our Go History Travel people, the Ramanujans. And go back first before I set that up. Want to introduce Dean, SCHAAF. AAF, yeah, SCHAAF, not two F's, two A's. Dean's a Navy man, and I've been on many boards with you, particularly the museums of Brevard. You're the president of the Veterans Memorial Center here on Brevard, and tell us a little bit about that operation there, Dean.
We've got an 82-acre park that's county property, and they let us run the park and run it for them, and they maintain any maintenance. They do that. We do minor things there, but we've got a 6,000 square foot museum, military history, and we've got some unique things in the museum, like a periscope out of a nuclear submarine that kids can play with, and right now that's the best way to see what's going on out in the park with the amphitheater we're building out in the park. We can watch it through the periscope. But
a 5,000 seat amphitheater. You local people, this is going to be beyond Cocoa Village in what they do there. We've also done some stargazing events there, and looking forward to doing more.
And for speaking of stargazing, we're going to attempt to get a permanent place for you out there.
Yeah.
And I have to work that with the county, but they just had a change of leadership in the Parks and Rec, so that's one of my first
Brevard
goals.
Astronomical Society has got a plan out there that will help finance to have a roll-off roof. It's a beautiful point for anything. But to have a public moon eclipse or star party with the planets is out there.
But we just had our meeting today with the contractor, and then we did a tour after that, and they are going vertical already. And,
good.
And if you go on our website, you'll see the drone shots of the area and everything. That's interesting.
Okay.
You can see the footprint, and
Merritt Island Veterans Memorial.
Right.
Is the thing on there. And some of you that may say,
it's Brevard.
It's Brevard, Brevard.
Veterans Memorial Center.org.
Yeah, veteransmemorialcenter.org.
And you'll see the
It's awesome. There are so many mannequins in this museum, folks, that I go like this, or so, like there's someone behind me.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of mannequins up
And
there.
they're still adding, you know.
You've got every female uniform in
Pretty much.
whatever
Yeah.
don't you?
We got some unique female uniforms that are like the donut dollies back in World War II,
Mhm.
Red Cross workers, and this kind of thing. But we've got
Is
one
the-
of our secretary was the third class that graduated from West Point, and we have her West Point cadet uniform in there.
Hmm.
And
one
we
of my-
also have a female uniform in camouflage, and she's pregnant. So
Oh.
I mean that's the new military. You know,
Oh my
in the old
goodness.
days, you get pregnant, you got to leave.
Ship, yeah.
But now they're, you know, so.
Well, that's
we-
interesting.
But
Well, we're talking about Dean Schaaf, who just walked in. He was part of our opening ceremonies of our 3-2-1 celebrate Brevard's birthday day today. And our friend Ozzie Osband was. We're going to talk about Ozzie here together. But they have a fabulous military museum in Merritt Island. One of my favorite things in there, Dean, is a piece of the rope that they hung Japan Emperor Tojo
Tojo,
with.
right?
I mean,
We don't have a piece of.
that was a thick rope too. It's a big
Yeah, yeah.
round rope, man.
We don't have a piece of Saddam Hussein's rope, though.
Oh, you don't?
No, we don't.
All right. You do have a piece of the Arizona,
Yes,
don't
we do.
you? That's you get off the elevator on the.
I got a call
observation
from Hawaii, and they said this went out to all museums. And I don't know whether you guys got a call or not, but it was this. Everything was taken off of the superstructure of the Arizona. Was sitting in a junkyard rusting away for 75 years, and they finally said, "Well, let's, you know, maybe some museums could use this." And I asked for a piece, and we paid the shipping, and it came over.
Well,
The,
Deans like us, we get the offers for things that are too big,
Oh, yeah.
you know, of course. The periscope was a huge undertaking for you
Yeah.
guys. I remember that project. It sat out in
But
your
it's-
front yard, so to speak, for
All
a
it was
while.
was a 9-inch hole in the roof. That's all it took.
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly. They sold you on that. And the crane to put it up in there.
And the bracing
yeah.
underneath.
And that hurricane, the extra little
Right.
support in there.
But it's 42 feet from the base to the top, and about 12 foot of it is above the roof line.
Well, thanks for
Yeah.
coming by, Dean.
All right.
For sure,
Well-
he's involved with a lot of things at the museum because if Dean's looking a little familiar to you, yes, he was a NASA worker. He was I'm gonna do the acronyms. He was a TAL Site GOM.
Ground operations manager.
Grounds it for the
I like to,
the Transoceanic Abort Landing Sites.
I preferred the ground operations director, so.
Okay. GOD.
Yeah.
Ground Operations Director instead of Ground Operations Man. GOM.
But-
Yes, I've learned. He's helped me learn a lot about the space workers around here. And Dean, tell them about your interesting job. What was the TAL sites
Well,
all about?
Every launch, we had to have 3 sites overseas for an abort landing. If they lost an engine on the way up, or even a second engine, they could abort to.
They were
to
high
the
up
TAL
enough
site.
probably
Yeah.
that they could glide back
As
down.
they went up, they would get, Tal Zaragoza, Tal Marone, Tal Ben Guerir. The first 2 were in Spain. Ben Guerir was in Morocco, just outside of Marrakesh.
Mhm.
And then we had for the mid inclinations, we had the Gambia, which the track went right overhead, the Gambia. So that was for the low inclination, not mid, but low inclination that went right over the Gambia. So we used it. I made 15 trips, I think, to the Gambia with tours. But what I was saying, we had to man 3 of those sites.
These small runways, you had to
Right.
make them compatible for
Right,
a
we had
shuttle. And
shuttle unique landing aids there. We had a MISPLIS, we had TACAN, we had microwave scanning beam landing system as the MISPLIS, and then we had the position lights at the 65 and 7,500 feet from the runway. So all these would go over and take us about 2 days to set up, or 3 days to set it up, and support the mission, and 2 days to pack it and stow it and come home. But it didn't always happen that way. Sometimes we'd spend weeks over there because of delays or or whatever. It was cheaper to keep us on site than it was to fly us back and forth. So they were interesting. And but I think there were 3 times in the shuttle program that perfect weather here at Kennedy,
Yeah.
but they had to scrub the launch because we didn't have weather at one of the sites.
Yeah.
And an astronaut went to each of the sites to fly an airplane that the DoD brought in, either a C-12 or a Beechcraft aircraft or a Learjet, and they would check out the lights and the runway and everything and the weather, and they would tell Houston, the flight director, we're go for launch. So they would count down and launch.
Look at my man Marty Winkle. Thank you. He found Dean's name up there because we did a program with Dean. Look him up on our YouTube channel. We had a very good program, and you also were featured at Shuttle Fest 2, I believe, Marty. Thank you
And
so much for doing that,
remember,
Marty.
we did another one too on Buzz Lightyear.
Yes, we did one on Buzz Lightyear. Tell us what you're involved with Buzz Lightyear.
Well, we took Buzz, they launched him up there. He spent 6 months on station, and when they were bringing him back, Disney was at Kennedy Space Center to receive Buzz Lightyear. It is now in the Smithsonian Institute, but in the museum up there. But Buzz was supposed to be here, and Disney would pick him up and go on from there. But we landed in California that time, so I was told to take possession of Buzz and don't allow any pictures to be taken.
You had to fly to California to get him ready, flying without you.
Yeah, we went out there. Well, I was in California that mission, so we brought him back with me and the I think the public affairs. I'll think of her name.
Hugh Hare? Oh, Lisa Malone?
No. That one of their workers.
Oh, I got you.
But we brought her back on the ferry flight, and so we stopped along the way. I did take some pictures. I got a picture of him kicking the tires on the 747.
Yeah, we had that. Was cool.
Flying the 747.
So Buzz Lightyear's kicking the tires, flying it. I love the picture of him in the parade when they brought him to Disney here.
That was the official picture. After we got it back to Kennedy, then we turned it over to NASA, and about a week later, he was leading a parade at Disney World in a remote-controlled car out leading the parade, and then he went from there to.
He's in a remote-controlled car, sitting there like he's waving to everybody. Yeah. Buzz Lightyear, and Buzz Aldrin officially changed his name to Buzz, but you know how Buzz Aldrin got the nickname Buzz?
No. His
sister kept saying bruzzer. She couldn't say brother, and she said buzzer. And so that was a family way back thing. It has nothing to do with that. Well, we're enjoying a conversation with Dean Schaaf to talk about appropriately. I was going to talk about Ozzie here in the beginning, and I got some pictures lined up. Marty's going to move that around in between us here. He's got a question first.
Yeah, Michael Bruno was asking, if they had to abort and needed more velocity, was there any procedure to use the deorbit burn engines for that?
If we had to come back?
If they needed to go, if they didn't have enough vector to go across the ocean to Saragossa, would they hit the OMS engines to give them some more thrust?
No, I don't think that was part of the procedure.
They would pull out their rosaries. They would pull out their rosaries, and
as they went uphill, their first option was return to launch site. So they could return and basically fly backward, drop the external tank, and land back at Kennedy Space Center.
In theory,
the next options they had was East Coast launch abort site. There was everywhere from Cherry Point all the way up to Canada. There were sites along there that they could take a left and land at one of those.
There you go.
And I went to most of those, training, at least briefing, the fire departments and the airport personnel on what to do if they did that. Canada supported 5 sites for us every mission, and they were really involved in that. And then after that option was TAL, and then after TAL, if you could abort to orbit, you could maybe you had an option you could get into a lower orbit, but but not get the altitude. And I think we did abort to orbit one time.
Yeah, Eileen Collins
Right.
with the
No.
Gamma Ray Observatory.
No, it wasn't Eileen.
Okay.
Not on that one. She had a problem, but that wasn't an abort to orbit. There was a different one.
Okay.
And I'll have to, but yeah, I've read about Eileen's. I've read her latest book.
Yeah,
and
you
that's,
just
that's
read her
pretty good.
book. You
Yeah.
met her there. We've been in a bunch
But,
of things together.
But after the
Memorials.
TOW,
saw.
then they have no other options. But there were sites all over the world, emergency landing sites, and this is after they got into orbit and they had some catastrophic failure. They had to come down. There was always a runway in their flight path that they could land at, such as King Khalid, Saudi Arabia, or Hoedsprit, South Africa, and Tamanrasset, Algeria. A lot of these different sites all around the world that the embassies would be involved in if we landed there.
Look that up, Dean's name, and we'll have to do a reprise of that. What
right.
tickles me is there was actually a net that was in the runway to catch the shuttle, because most of the runways were not long enough.
Right. If the
And it was
runway
like a big tennis net with a reinforced center that the nose was going to land
if the
in.
runway was less than 12,000 feet, we had a shuttle orbital arresting system, SOAS,
Okay.
and that net was 27 foot high at the center, 300 foot wide, and huge stanchions would raise it. And
Yeah.
if the orbiter hit that doing 100 knots, it would stop it in 800 feet. So it'd keep it from going through the overrun.
Marty's got a comment.
Yeah, Tom Celentano was saying 51F was aboard to orbit.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and
51F.
Tommy Usiak's on that too, and we're glad that Keith Sewell's joined here. He was involved in the crash recovery operations of the first two shuttles, he said,
Okay.
in Hayford, England, up there. So, well, let's here's the proclamation. But Dean's an awesome guy, great friend. We've done some things together, and he'll be at Shuttle Fest. So you'll be those of you come to Shuttle Fest, will get to meet Dean there.
And I will.
No, stay here.
Oh,
Stay. No. I
okay.
want you to stay here, man. I got some pictures. You can talk about Ozzie here. We did his proclamation last year of him. They did another one, official proclamation for 321 Day. But you knew Ozzie,
Oh, yeah.
and there he is, the self-proclaimed rocket hobo.
With his rocket hobo patch.
Yeah.
And he sold those every mission, right?
Yep.
It's a-
He for $5 he'd sell those. That's him on a lawn chair there. And here's the celebration poster. Okay, last year at Spaceview Park.
Right.
This year we branding it as Celebrate Brevard's Birthday, and then next year it'll be on Saturday. And the third one, hopefully, will get more solidified that this is a great little time to focus on our world here.
Well, I briefed this 321 Day at a meeting I had last Thursday at the Military Officers Association, and nobody had heard of Ozzie or a 321 Day, and so I'm hoping some of them will show up here today.
Good.
So.
Were you around him when he's volunteered at different places? He was an Army veteran,
right?
More active out of Cape Canaveral.
No,
in here.
I didn't get to meet him until he was part of the mob, and put
Okay.
together,
Museums of
museum
Brevard.
Brevard,
Yeah.
when we stood up that council with coalition of the 20 museums in Brevard that banded together. So Ozzie was part of that.
Always wore a green shirt. I've inherited some of his green shirts. He was a big ham radio operator. Sorry, I don't have his numbers in front of me. I can almost see him. And something begins with it there. But he was one of these eclectic, smart guys. If he went up in the space station, he'd be like Don Pettit, a MacGyver up there doing things with it in there. He passed away in August last year of probably a heart attack in his sleep at home, and he was in his mid-70s, had a good life, and he was one of the early computer programmers. That's what he did for the museums of Brevard, and this is one of my favorite pictures I took of Ozzie. He would go out there and do commentary for the launches, and then when about 1 minute after this picture, he'd grab his little tip jar and and then go at the other end. And as people come out of Space View Park and the Veterans Memorial Park there, he'd he gave him some money, and he'd say, I'm going to Durango's and get me a steak dinner. All right. And but a smart guy, a good guy. I miss him a lot. It's not the same going out there, Dean, for a launch and not seeing him out there.
Well, I never got to see him out there because I was on the runway or somewhere else.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he came. He's a New Yorker. Came down here in the 70s, and that, to me, that says everything about Ozzie right there. And when he passed away, there was somebody downtown had a little thing there. The 321 area code is the Titusville and Orlando area got so big in 1990s that they had to split up a new area code.
98.
98, yeah. And 99 is when the 321 area code became real. He had to go to the Federal Communication Commission. This is an area code normally up in New England area, as area codes go. They're kind of regional, how they're assigned on there. So really...
well, we're all fortunate that he fought for us to get
yeah.
that.
Of course, 321 liftoff, you know. And his that was his cell phone, was 321 liftoff. We're trying to buy it so we could do a recording of launches on there for people. With AI, you could use his voice maybe, if someone's got his voice around there. But Tim Gagnon did this tribute patch to Ozzie there.
Okay.
I think you know Tim.
Yeah.
The patch guy. You met him at our events and stuff like that. So, so we're kicked off this event. There it was last year. There's Gabriel Rothblatt. He didn't know he's going to become the executive director of the museum a year ago, but he and I were friends over this event. That's Mayor Diesel there last year. We took some pictures. I didn't have a chance to load them up. Mayor Connor's out there. We got a good band. If you're local, come on down. We got 4 food trucks. It looks great, doesn't it, over there?
Yeah.
I've got a telescope over there. We're going to do a little stargazing and look at the planet Jupiter and enjoy a good name on there. And there's Ozzie's brother, Steve, last year. Steve came down from New York and saw the celebration, and his brother there. So we topped it off out at the river where Ozzie did the countdowns. I gave a eulogy out there, and we threw a wreath in the Indian River there at the end of this thing. You know, I never know I have a bald spot until I see a picture like this, Dean. How about you, buddy? You keep forgetting that too. But anyway.
Well, that's Ozzie's head you're looking at there, though, right?
No, that's me. Yeah, right. Yeah, that could be Ozzie there for
He's
sure.
got a green shirt on.
Yeah, that's and then the Wildlife Commission arrested me for throwing something out there that could choke a dolphin. Just kidding.
You retrieved it.
Just kidding, but that was something nice. We really had a tribute to him. We want to keep Ozzie's dream alive, his vision alive there. So, Dean, thanks for coming on here, buddy.
All right. Well,
I'm going to do a couple little backyard astronomy things, and I'll see you over there. Good to see your wife
at the
there.
program. Yeah.
Dean Schaaf, one of the great leaders here in Brevard County, and he can't wait to step down like me from some stuff. But thanks a lot, Dean. Our GOM. Our ground operations manager for TAL.
Then NCC, NASA Convoy Commander.
And
then the LRM, the Launch Recovery Manager, or Landing Recovery Manager. There we go.
You and your acronyms. Good. See you later, buddy. Well, thank you to Dean Schaaf for coming up here, Marty. Excellent work there on the fly. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of weekend love about the stars, as the moon is 21 days old right now today. So to talk like an amateur astronomer, the moon, I would say, is 21 days old. Good. It won't be in the evening sky, and so I can look at the Andromeda Galaxy and find the Owl Nebula in the Big Dipper that's up now, and you'll see in a minute. So you see 21 on the chart. The moon's at last quarter, and it will rise about midnight. And you'll see it in the sky about 9 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning against that beautiful bluebird sky uh, uh, in the south there. So now you're talking like a amateur astronomer when I say the moon is 21 days old. Into an amateur astronomer, that's, oh good, the moon is not in the evening sky. It will, and the moonlight does interfere with what we call our faint fuzzies, the nebulas, the galaxies, and star clusters we like to hunt like treasures of the night. You can get an evening sky map anywhere online. At bookstores have what they call the planisphere. This is a free one off of skymaps.com. And to make that small, there's a sky map. So we're right there, skymaps.com. Pull that up. And it's a lot of information, okay? The 22nd is the last quarter moon, technically, tomorrow morning. New moon is on the 29th, okay? When the moon is 28 days old. And so there's a Milky Way from the winter is about to set, okay? And there in the center is the Big Bear, Ursa Major. You can kind of see the stick figure legs, the point is his nose, and his hindquarters is the Big Dipper. So these are very handy to go out, and you need to cipher them a little bit. You need to study it like anything and get your head wrapped around it. And once you do, the whole universe opens up to you. No matter what age you are, it's really a good hobby. So if you go out tonight, there's no moonlight, you look to the south, you're going to see Orion. You're going to see 3 stars in a row. Okay, here is the mythological character superimposed over the stars of Orion. See how the top 2 stars are his shoulder. The bottom 2 stars could be his knee or his feet, however you look at it. But he's going to be standing straight up and down, and here is the dot outline of it there. And you can see the Orion Nebula with your naked eye if there's not too much light pollution. But with binoculars, you can see it real good. And Orion's really easy to see. I didn't put any other pictures in there. So just touching on a few things to see. Of course, we had the vernal equinox, the first day of spring, about the same time that the groundhog said it was going to be, on February 4th, 6 weeks later. All right. And so days are getting longer. It's getting warmer. Ice is melting up with our friends up in the north. And today's a little bit chilly, like 50 degrees, but when you live down here, that is sweater weather for sure. So we're back at now our friend Cliff Watson down in Australia. He's having the first day of fall, and they've had quite a hot time down there in Australia. Here's a picture I took of the moon rising over the vehicle assembly building with a telephoto lens. I think that's through a telescope, actually. Just to get an idea of the near full moon there to set up the little story I'm going to tell you about. When is Easter? And here's an Easter rabbit on the moon, Marty. He ain't going to, that fur must be keeping him insulated on the moon there. But so you might be asking yourself, we're into March already. When's Easter Sunday this year? When's Easter Sunday? Well, Easter is a formula decided centuries ago by the Roman Catholic Council that's quite astronomical. Easter is the Sunday after the full moon, which occurs after the spring equinox. Okay, let's cipher that down and break it up. We've had spring, the first day of spring. So the first thing that sets it up Easter is you have to have the spring equinox, okay, or the vernal equinox. Well, we just had that. March 20th, Thursday, at 5:01 a.m. was the spring equinox, okay? So the first full moon after the equinox, okay, so the next full moon after that is April 12th, okay? We had a full moon on, I think on the 19th, something like that, right before it. So this sets up for Easter to be the latest it can be, all right? So the next full moon after spring, first day of spring that was Thursday, is April 12th. and that's the pink or worm moon, and that's on a Saturday. So April 13th should be Easter, right? Well, it's not. April 13th is, and they're showing you a beautiful full moon. April 13th is a Sunday, but Easter's on April 20th this year. So why isn't it on the first? If Mark, you just said that the full moon was on April 12th, that's the pink or the worm moon, and that's a Saturday. So Sunday the 13th should be Easter according to her formula. Well, the full moon occurs exactly at 8:22 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time in North America, but in Italy at Vatican City, it is 1:22 a.m. on April 13th, Sunday. So the next Sunday is April 20th. All right, because you're thinking of this is based on the European Greenwich Mean Time and not Eastern Daylight Time or Central Time on there. So once again, we had the first day of spring, March 20th. The next full moon is April 12th. But that's April 13th in Europe when the full moon happens there. So they are going Sunday, April 20th is Easter. And now you know why it fluctuates around. It can be very aggravating. The Easter Sundays is the first Sunday after the full moon, which occurs after the spring equinox. Simple as that. And like I said, this is about as late as it can get, okay, because this first day of spring is March 20th this year. That's early. It's either the 20th, the 21st, or the 22nd. All right. All these variables about where Earth is in its orbit around the sun. So the latest it can be is April 21st. Okay. Being Sunday, April 20th is the next furthest it can be. All right. This is a picture of my little sister Sherry's house in Texas. She's been on our show, visiting with me, and I hope you can see the Big Dipper is standing on its handle. 3 stars for the handle, and the 4 stars at the top of the bowl. And they're pointing to, you can't quite see it, but that's Polaris, the North Star. But this is just how easy it is to see the Big Dipper, which is the hindquarters of the bear Ursa Major. And there we have the dot outline of the stars of Ursa Major. You can see that the ancients thought the stars did have a feel to them of, I'm not blocking anything there, of a creature with a long tail, okay, in the hindquarters there. I've said many times, on Earth, we've never found a bear with a long tail. Where's this long tail come from? And it's part of the mythology where I think Zeus threw the bear up in the sky for some reason and jerked his tail off here on Earth. As you see, Dubé and Merrick point to Polaris, the North Star. And that's a lot of fun to find. And now almost standing on its tail or its handle, look north and to the right, you'll see the Big Dipper, and as you watch it wheel overhead throughout the night, it'll pour its contents over onto the landscape. Well, we're going to go out today with just another thought about connecting yourself with the stars, not as an amateur astronomer per se, but as an artist. I say, like, and his is Vincent van Gogh. And of course, I'm going to show one of his most famous paintings, one of the most famous paintings in the world, Starry Night. Okay, a town in France where he grew up in, and he had some sort of, they figured later he had some sort of different affliction in his brain that made him see things differently. And here's the moon, and they can never figure out what stars did he see there. Is that Venus? Whatever, but the interpretation is incredible, and it's iconic, and it's imitated over and over by Mr. Van Gogh. Starry Night. But did you know that he had Starry Night on the Rhone River? There's a close-up of his brushwork in there. And I challenge you to do something with the stars this weekend. write a poem about the stars, sketch them, draw them. This is an artist. His impressions of looking out his backyard, and maybe this is Orion. I don't know, but it certainly has captivated people forever because of the phase of the moon like that. The only way you could have that phase of the moon is when it's 21 days old or greater, Marty, when it is in the morning sky, because the sun would have to be to the left. But this is a painting that is also very similar. There's two people down here. Let me move that out of the way. This is Starry Night on the Rhone River. Rhone goes through France and Italy. I think this is the French part of it on there. And what stars are these that non-astronomer but artist Vincent van Gogh, what did they draw here? What did he draw here? Well, you look down at the Dipper on this to show you some distances in the sky, and by golly, it could be the Dipper he has there. Okay, if I make it smaller, maybe that'll go back and forth. See the Dipper down there? Maybe those stars are the handle of the Big Dipper, and he's an interpretive artist, and he's you know, a little bit different. After all, he did cut his ear off, but be inspired by the stars. Go out there and enjoy some evening under the starlight here. I know you'll be crackling maybe a fire pit, going outside with a lighter jacket, some of you up north, but get up and bathe yourself in the cosmos. I certainly do get excited about it. Why? Because we are just earthlings on a planet orbiting the sun, and like our friend astronaut Nicole Stott says, the only border that should matter is that thin blue line. And when you're looking off of this planet, literally into the universe, you're looking back at thousands, maybe, of civilizations could be looking back. Truly, it's fascinating to get into and understand. But if even just one little creature's looking back, then that'll be earth-shattering in itself. But we'll do a program one time about the cosmos and have fun with you all going out in your backyard and thinking these cosmic thoughts. So thank you all for watching today. Marty and I are going to go over and celebrate 321 Day here on Brevard County's birthday, March 21st, 2025, and honoring the gentleman that brought us the 321 area code, Ozzie Osband. My friend, rest in peace, and God bless your family. So until next time, I'm Mark Marquette, thanking Marty Winkle for an excellent job on our board today, and saying that I'll see you again to bridge the space between us.